Well, Apple's Steve Jobs showed up, but built-in cameras in the iPod Touch did not. Is Apple getting complacent with the iPod market? We bring in Dan Fromer. He is a senior editor at the Business Insider for the answer to that question and a few others. Dan, we're glad to have you with us this morning. So is Apple getting too complacent, or is there a problem with the parts, the technology, and the company's just sort of scrambling behind the scenes to try to fix it?
Yeah, you know, if you see what Steve Jobs told the New York Times' David Pogue last night, it was basically that we're trying to keep costs in line. I don't think that's the real answer. I think maybe the rumors that there were some bad parts with the cameras for the iPod Touch is true. Maybe at the last second they decided just to do the price cuts and the storage increases. But a camera on the iPod Touch makes absolute sense. It's the future of the line, and also it's the only iPod with an app store. So you can download apps that use the video camera, games that use the video camera, etc. It's meant to be there, and I think it will be there sooner than later.
If they don't get it done before Christmas, is that important?
You know, it would have been one thing if they said yesterday, here we're going to have this camera in the iPod Touch. It's not going to ship for a few weeks. That would have been a better thing. It's not good that it's not going to be ready for Christmas, if that's the case, because this is, you know, as I said last year, the iPod Touch was the winner at Christmas. It's supposed to be the winner at Christmas this year, and it would have been much more powerful with the video camera inside it.
iPod is a quarter of the sales, or it was a quarter of the sales for Apple last year overall.
Right. The iPod, you know, as Apple has said, is a shrinking market overall. The iPod Touch, however, is the one growth story there, and of course the iPhone, which is a different segment.
Dan, are you getting any insights, say, from people at Apple about where Apple's strategy is going from here? Obviously, with the reaction in the stock market, a bit of a disappointment with the iPod move yesterday, and surprisingly, not much of an uptick, let's say, from Steve Jobs' reappearance. But with Apple, it's always a product story. What's next?
Sure. Well, of course, Apple doesn't ever say anything about what's next. But you could kind of read between the lines. Yesterday, Steve Jobs said to David Pogue that he's very focused on something right now. The word on the street, of course, is that that's an Apple tablet computer that would be maybe the size of an Amazon Kindle, maybe a big iPod Touch. You could use it for movies, you could use it for reading books, you could use it for surfing the web, and of course using apps. So that's a new product. Apple doesn't actually release that many new products, maybe one big new product every few years. So that could be something big they're working on now that they're, of course, not really talking about.
Now, that would be a big shift. I mean, the Newton, that was a huge flop, but Steve Jobs wasn't in charge, so we can't really pin that on his leadership. But, I mean, how do you see this competing with some other products? You mentioned the Kindle, some of the other ones that are out there.
Sure.
Sony's products.
You know, a lot's changed since the Newton, both within Apple and within the technology industry. So how would the Kindle go up? The Apple tablet would go up against the Amazon Kindle, sure, which Steve Jobs kind of dissed yesterday as a single feature device. Maybe a netbook computer from Dell and Acer and companies like that. Those are, of course, $400 are very cheap. So Apple would not be selling something in that price range.
So we're talking a lot about Steve Jobs, the fact that he was there. I mean, people say he looked thin but was energetic. Is it important for Apple to kind of get together a succession plan? I mean, Tim Cook seems to be holding down the fort pretty well.
Yeah, you know, Steve looked good yesterday. He sounded a little different, but his spirit seemed to be there. Of course, it's important for Apple to have a succession plan. I'm sure now they do internally. You know, I can't say if anything's changed as far as how they think they're going to react to Steve's health internally. Externally, it looks like he's being a little more, you know, talking a little more about it, so that's good. And I'm sure they have a plan for what's next. They do have a solid management team, but of course, Steve Jobs is the one who really calls the shots there. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Exactly.
Dan, we thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Fromer there, senior editor from the Business Insider.